Welcome, everyone. This is a live video broadcast as part of our Oneness and 12 Spheres of Life program. It's great to be with you today. Boy, it's gorgeous here in Boulder, Colorado. I hope it's pretty in your area of the world. I'm Steve Farrell, the Worldwide Executive Director for Humanities Team, and we have a really exciting program in store today. I'm here with Anna Marie Peters, my co-host, and our very special guest, Barbara Marx Hubbard. Barbara's the creator of the 12 Around One Wheel of Co-Creation, what we call Oneness in the 12 Spheres of Life here in Humanities Team. Barbara has an important perspective to share on governance, our focus during the month of May. Be sure to stay tuned for the full hour. A quick introduction to Humanities Team as we get started. In Humanities Team, we believe that there's only one presence, what we call the divine, and we're all emanations of the divine, and it's true for each of us in all of life. It doesn't matter how far our lives may be from reflecting this truth, it's still true. Our invitation is to live in communion with the divine and be an authentic expression of the presence, peace, and power that are our true essence. We don't need to be perfect or even excellent. We're invited to simply receive God or the divine's love and be an expression of that, each in our own way to the best of our ability. In this way, we add to the light in the world and we create processes to protect and nurture humanity and life on our precious planet. We can be intentional about this so we live this way each day. When we do this together, we create the world that we know is ours. Concerning today's program with Barbara, we invite you to share your questions by placing them in the chat window. The sooner the better. This way we can get to them during the 60-minute program. You might go ahead and begin sharing your comments and questions in the window now. Next, my co-host, Anna Marie Peters, is going to come on to share about today's program. She is the country coordinator for Humanities Team South Africa and the co-coordinator of the Oneness and 12 Spheres of Life program. She's a gift to all of us in Humanities Team. And welcome to the program here, Anna Marie.
Well, thank you, Steve. It's wonderful to be here. Yes, a warm hello from me, everyone. I am especially happy to be on this in this conversation today. I have not been speaking to Barbara for a long time, and as Steve shared, Barbara has been the inspiration for our Oneness in 12 Spheres of Life initiative, so it's really, really so special to be with her and everyone today. So as Steve said, I've been with Humanities Team since 2005, helping out with a number of things on a global level. I'm the country coordinator here in South Africa, and I'm just happy to be with you all. So I know that Barbara never fails to inspire, and I'm really looking forward to this discussion together with all of us today. And just a little bit about this sphere, Steve, before we get into the discussion, something short about the sphere of governance. Basically, the sphere of governance deals with the administration of authority and leadership of a community, going beyond mere organizational design and embracing all scales, from self-governance to entire nations, from classroom to boardroom, and from human to natural systems. We see in the sphere that what we value and how we perceive life is reflected in our governmental designs. The sphere of governance is given life through the recognition that the world does not have to be the way it is, and that individual people can change it. We are the government through our own self-governance. The world becomes open, welcoming, peaceful, and thriving when we recognize as human beings we need each other to survive on this planet, and that we are all in this together, and that community flourishes as we learn about each other and revel in the wonder and the beauty of our diversities. With that, over to you, Steve.
Okay, thanks so much, Anna Marie, for setting the table.
Thank you.
We're going to now bring on our special guest. I'm going to read a brief introduction of our special guest now. In this case, our guest really needs virtually no introduction, but she deserves a proper introduction. So as she presents in this interview, Barbara Marx Hubbard's work has been apparent on the stage of cutting-edge thinking and action for decades. Her book, Conscious Evolution, published in 1998, is a call to action with a blueprint for the reconstruction of human reality. She calls on us to actively engage in our own evolution, as well as the evolution of human societies and of the earth and its animal and plant life. This call, so needed in 1998, is even more urgent today. She calls on us to stand alone and together in co-creating a world that supports all to thrive. She founded the Foundation for Conscious Evolution, as well as other organizations. She produced a 7-part documentary series entitled Humanity Ascending, A New Way Through Together. This transformational series presents vital elements to awaken the codes of our own conscious evolution and offers direction, meaning, and a vision toward our birth as a new humanity. Barbara was the recipient of Humanities Team Spiritual Leadership Award in 2013 and is now producing a 52-code intensive with Humanities Team called Awaken the Species. And welcome to this program, Barbara. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, you're so much part of my life here at Humanities Team. So I'm delighted to see you too, Anne-Marie. Really miss being on there weekly as I used to be.
That's right. Barbara was actually a co-host with Anna-Marie and I for a couple of years. So
yes,
great to have you back here.
Yes.
Right at home. All right. Well, we've got a lot of ground to cover. Barbara was sharing in the green room before we came on that, boy, she's been up since early, just looking at all of this whole synergistic democracy or evolving democracy. So we're going to just jump right in. And Barbara, let me just start right there at the top with this, this innovative, technologically savvy way for emerging democracy. What are some of the things that you see? Maybe we can just jump right in with some of the most profound and exciting things that you envision.
Well, just starting with our understanding of how nature evolves from simple to more complex up the chain of life from the beginning, there is a very, very interesting pattern in there, is that when systems become dysfunctional, they are using more and more of their energy to handle those dysfunctionalities. Like in some respects, our current culture is dysfunctional in many ways. And so we have to have a bigger military, and we're concerned about how to deal with all the poverty and what to do with the problems. Meanwhile, in any level of system, innovations start occurring in health, in education, in economics, in science and technology, which are not considered by the existing democracy. They're not going to be running the show yet, but they're happening all over the place. Now, here's what Ilya Prigogine discovered: how systems go from devolution to evolution, from complexity to synergy. How does that happen? From single cell to multi-cell to how did this happen unless God get in there and did it all by hand? Nature has been able to go from entropy to syntropy. And we're now in another stage of entropy here, disorder. So what happens is the innovations that have been growing, at some point, the nature is those innovations start to interact with each other in all the fields of the wheel. In health, education, economics, every single field of that wheel has innovations in it. And what happens in nature, they start to interact in a non-linear, exponential quickening of that interaction. And the system cooperates in its own self-transcendence. That's the message from this Nobel Prize winner, Ilya Prigogine. Non-linear exponential interaction. So if we think, Anna-Marie, of all the sectors of the wheel, health, education, economics, science and technology, justice, environment, governance, think of the current structure of the committees of Congress, dealing with all these different things. I'll tell you a story and then how I came to this. I was very interested in the space program with my partner at that time, John Whiteside. He was a chief officer of information for the Air Force in New York. So we went to Congressman Olin Teague, who was head of the Science and Technology Committee in Congress, and he was called Tiger. We said, Tiger, why not bring the committees of Congress together to look at the long-range purpose of the space program and all those technologies? How can that, instead of just competing with the Russians, how can that be used to heal the earth and free the people and explore the universe? So Congressman Olin T. Tiger says, Barbara, we can't do that. So I said, what do you mean you can't do that? Well, he said, we don't bring the committees together for anything. Committees of Congress as a whole, because we got a whole new thing, there's new technology. I said, well, how can you get anything big decided? He said, we can't. You do it, Barbara. So I'm standing there with John Whiteside, my friend, and he says, you do it. You figure out how to do this. So what Blessed John did, he said, Barbara, let's build a wheel. That you're not going to be able to get synergy among the separate parts by everybody sitting in rows listening to speakers. And this Irvin Laszlo said the same thing. When a society is dysfunctional, it looks for new structure. It doesn't just jump into new ideas. So if it was able to jump into democracy, that was a new structure. When it didn't have democracy, look at Nazism. Look at what happened with fascism. And they tried to order and get control of a country with a diabolical structure. And the point is, we can't govern at the next level without structure. So the wheel of co-creation became for us the new structure for synergistic democracy. And as you know, I don't have it on here to show you, but we've developed a new wheel. If you look at the origin of creation, see universe, earth, life, animal life, human life. Oh, thank you, you got it. And us going around this is the new wheel of co-creation 2.0. This is still more or less confidential. It's something that my partner, Mark Gaffney, and I have worked on together with our set of means. And just, you've seen it before, but now it's for evolutionaries. It's not just for people who are in their more ordinary life. So it starts with no thing at all, which is consciousness. The whole thing started out of nothing. You want to talk about something amazing. The Big Bang is this awesome 2 to 3 seconds that was able to create the structural potential that made for universe, earth, life, animal life, human life, and now our self-governing structure, our 12 around 1, our wheel of co-creation is our turn on the spiral. And somebody said this morning, as I was going over it with the team who's working on the internet program with us, he said, we have to get rid of that black dot at the center of the wheel. Let's put the starring Big Bang at the center of the wheel of co-creation and say we're in another time of the explosion of great potential at the heart of the wheel there. And then you go right after that, then this is a way to get to synergistic democracy. So you have to go and see yourself as part of the expression of this larger purpose. Then you go into the wheel called desire and allurement. Because what is it that moves this entire process forward? We're calling it attraction, allurement, particle attracted to particle. You know, Steve, you call it oneness under God. It's oneness under God, but the particles being attracted to each other to become something more by connectivity that makes for ever greater oneness. But what makes for the oneness to get greater is the particles coming together to attract each other, all the way up and all the way down from the quarks to us. So in the new form of self-governance, I'm suggesting that we need to start building wheels and go into them ourselves. And we have a structure in the wheel that starts with understanding that we come from the evolutionary story of creation, that understands that at the heart of new democracy is that with that black dot, we're going to make it into a star or a golden sphere or something. Is the impulse of creation, or you might say the God force. God's impulse is at the very center of synergistic democracy. How did we get this far? We had to get this far to even ask the question of the new self-governance. And I'm making self-governance a system of the whole, by the way. Because governance is not just one sphere. And each sphere thinks this about themselves. Each sphere says they are the whole, and in some respect they actually are. But I'm taking the liberty to make the wheel a new form of self-governance that hasn't yet been fully described. So put the wheel back on, please. So what we see here is out of your heart's desire. Let's say you, Anne-Marie, and myself, and Steve, we have a heart's desire for this. Who's telling us to do all this? Who's hiring us to do all this? Who's getting us up in the morning, the crack of dawn, to do all this? Heart's desire. Love, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Create. So please put the wheel back on so I can show this, Garth. I think it was you who put it on. So who put it on?
Yeah, that was Garth. He'll
Okay, Garth.
he'll bring it back.
Thank you, Garth. Thanks so much. So I want you to look at this. This is a new form of synergistic democracy as self-governance, giving ourselves a structure that we've been using in that wheel of co-creation all along, but making it more, making it something we're going to synergize. We've always done this sector and this sector and this sector. That's great, but now we're going to put them together. So the heart's desire for all of us who enter this wheel, there's a next level that I call it planetary DNA. And that's, you know, Irvin Laszlo said every great upheaval in society looks for new structure. So I'm suggesting that the heart's desire of the people who come into this wheel, they put it on the planetary DNA as a project they want to do. Like, I want to do this project with the wheel and with the 52 codes and humanities team. I haven't done it yet, but it's really becoming a planetary DNA in my heart. In other words, if you or I or anyone has a heart's desire that they want to do as a project, they put it in the planetary DNA, and that begins to create the structure of the new self-governance. Now, this is a very big and beautiful idea, that if we want to get to a new self-governing synergistic democracy, I believe the structure, it can't be win-lose, which is the structure of democracy. Synergistic democracy is the structure of seeking common goals and matching needs with resources in the light of the potential of the whole. So everybody has to put in the planetary DNA, what do you want to create? And even if it's not yet a full-scale project. And then what happens is other people start connecting around what you want to create, because they need you as you need them. And in planetary DNA, you get this opening up of social synergy. And you get it through heart's desire. You get it through loving to join genius to create. And you find that at the heart of the hub of the wheel is heart's desire, which is the yearning and the allurement of evolution or God. See, God evidently cares a lot about there being more and more creativity in this world. Or he could have stopped with quarks. In other words, the intention of creation is more and more creativity, or if we're created in the image of God, what's happening is we're becoming co-creators. That's what's happening. So in planetary DNA, the next stage of self-governance then is innovation that work, that go out of the planetary DNA into whatever sector of the wheel you want to create in, if it's working. So for conscious evolution, we define a golden innovation or innovation that works. It has to have the qualities of getting greater equality, of being replicatable, of being good for the environment. It's not just I built a better car or a better house. It means I built something that creates a better world. And it has to be viable economically. So this way we have to become entrepreneurs, because most people don't get hired to do their heart's desire. And if you want to get hired to do your heart's desire, you've got to become an entrepreneur. Is that right, Steve?
Oh gosh.
Yeah, in a sense, we all are entrepreneurs. We give this wider application because entrepreneur is just vocational arousal, it's social synergy. It's going out there, stretching to accomplish something, which is an entrepreneur is driving the progress of something.
That's right. It's different than capitalism. And it's more, so I believe that the structure of self-governance will reinforce self-entrepreneurship, small scale up to large scale. And that the younger people are already knowing this. They don't necessarily want to get jobs. And and most jobs are not really what anybody wants. People get jobs in order to earn a living in order to take care of their family. But if you could do the same thing by entrepreneurship, then you would have to find out what you want to create and who do you want to create with it. And you would start to become an evolutionary human to do it.
Absolutely. But that can be I'm so happy that you raised this, Barbara. I'm in that very same position at the moment where, I've been following my dream, behind oneness, and, here in South Africa, my work revolves around Ubuntu, which is the African expression of oneness. And, I've come to realize if I was not going to see myself as an innovator and as an entrepreneur, that I wouldn't be able to take it as far as I.
That's exactly.
So what is happening in with all of this, and it's painful as well, but it's also very, very empowering. It is to keep on believing in the dream that you have and realize that, so if it's part of your evolution, so if you do not evolve, so also will your idea not evolve.
Exactly right.
Experience.
So the wheel of co-creation, as we are now using it, is a place for the self-evolution of each person, because you go in there, you meet your heart's desire, your blueprint, and then you start innovating, and you meet others that you want to innovate with, and that but planetary DNA leads to entrepreneurship. Because you're entrepreneuring around what you really are, your heart's desire. You see such a difference. The entire capitalist system grew up in another modality. And as the younger people come in and they know all this and they're already on internet connecting with everything, I think they will find, and we are finding, my father used to say, my father was a toy maker. He was an entrepreneur. And he used to say to me, Barbara, you could sell anything if you knew what to sell. I had no idea what to sell until now. You know what I want to sell? This. I want to sell the wheel of co-creation, synergistic democracy. I want to enter, I had this idea, which I'm going to just throw out at you now. It happened with my bringing on Neil Donald Walsh last night before last on my 52 Codes show. And he was talking about, he's written a book on Awaken the New Species. So we were having a great time. And then I said, you know what I'd like to do, Neil? So he said, no, Barbara, what's that? It just came to me. I said, I would like to create a TV show on the new news using the wheel. Well, and so and then I thought, well, that's going to be so hard and I have to raise this money and have to do that. He said, Barbara, just do it.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll attract thousands of people. So what happened was, it's so surprising. I'm on the class, Steve. The first person puts up their hand. I said, does anybody want to speak now? Because we had a half hour left after Neil left. She said, I'd like to be the host of the TV show.
Sure.
Then somebody else said, I have a band, and he starts playing his music on his cell phone. I want to be the band. Yeah. Then somebody else said, oh, well, what I want to do is help people who've been hurt. So I said, well, okay, do it now. I got into do it now. instead of doing it tomorrow. So I said, who would you like to help? Well, there was the volcano in Hawaii, I think it was. So I said, call the mayor. Tell him we've got a whole group of people wanting to help. Oh, he said I could do that right on the news show. I said, yes, be the news. And when we finished that, I decided that after Awaken the New Species, I want to do a TV show on the new news in the wheel. Part of the hub of the wheel, telling the stories of the people, but showing that I had said on this little show the other night, I said, I think I'm going to go onto Anderson Cooper's CNN he's going to be forced to give me 10 minutes to talk about the new news in the wheel of co-creation, says I, to Neil Donald Walsh. That's when he said, that's ridiculous, Barbara. You do it. You're not going to go on Anderson Cooper's show. First of all, he won't have you. And secondly, you are much better than Anderson Cooper. So then what happened to my class is everybody decided they could do what they wanted to do now.
Yeah.
Somebody said, we need to get on Zoom. I said, well, we are on Zoom, folks. All of us here. Yeah. Okay, 400 people that signed up for this course, they're all here. Can you imagine what 400 people could do? If they go into that wheel and look at their heart's desire and what do they want to create and what kind of entrepreneur. And I want to be the voice. And my partner, Mark Gaffney, he was on a very popular TV show in Israel. I said, well, we could have some partners. Then I realized I have all these famous guests. So Neil goes on, Bruce Lipton goes on, Irvin Laszlo goes on, and they have all their networks. And you know what I found out? Everybody wants to be a star. Every single person on my class wanted to star in the TV show. That tells you something about the evolutionary personhood. We don't want to be behind the scenes. The ones who are evolutionaries are evolutionary because the impulse of creation is moving us forward. Yeah. And I said this to Steve. You know, Steve always says proudly, and I'm a nonprofit. And I said, so am I, and I'm no longer proud of it. I am going to be, said I to Steve, and you please help me to be one of the best entrepreneurs you've ever seen.
Wow.
A lot more about business than I do. So I'm looking to him to help me to be an entrepreneur. And all of us.
Yeah, well, you are. You're just jumping right out there. And as you know, it's all about the action, you know, because anybody can have vision, but it's all about manifesting. And that means teamwork, and that means discipline, and that means day in and day out, you know, but you have all of those things. So you already are an entrepreneur.
I want to say one more word now about democracy, because this was about self-governance. In the original SynCons, and now we're going to do evolutionary SynCons. In the original SynCons, John Whiteside, who was an officer in the Air Force, and he knew how to tell people what to do. So at the heart of the hub of the wheel, he put a camera. And then every group in every sector, Anne-Marie, that we've brought together all these years, is asked to come up with their own desire to create and what they need to create it. In other words, you create groups in every sector of the wheel. Then you have a time for every group to speak into the field of the whole community. So environment speaks. Well, we need, you know, this is our goal in environment. We have to clean this up, but we need the help of government. We need the help of media. Nobody could do it alone. So they would ask for help. And then other sectors of the wheel would come up and they would cluster around the one asking for what they needed. And then they would go back to the hub of the wheel, but with all of these connections. Each sector, health, education, economics, We did this in Monterrey, Mexico, with the government itself. The government cannot do it unless they interact with other sectors of government or other sectors of society. And in the fact is that people up there at the top don't do this. They have a lot of followers and they have a lot of efforts to get their work out, but very few of us actually cultivate social synergy among our peers because we don't yet have the structure to do it. It's not that we don't want to, we actually love doing it. So in the wheel of co-creation as the new self-governance, the cultivation of social synergy among functional programs and eventually functional sectors of health, education, economics, and so forth, are going to be developing what Ilya Prigogine calls nature does at times of increased entropy. It creates a nonlinear, exponential interaction of innovations that are working. By golly, that's what we're going to do.
So let me come in here just real quick because viewers are sending in bunches of questions, and thank you. We'll get to your viewers, but first, you know, this is, boy, you've really gotten us into an exciting discussion here, Barbara. And there, a lot of this actually is, there aren't questions or comments just on this whole new form of this new evolving democracy. Anna Marie, do you want to bring in one more question before we go to viewer questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to share, you know, Steve, part of the promotion for this conversation today were the words innovative and technologically savvy forms of democracy. And that really struck me. And, you know, I went onto the internet earlier on as I was preparing for this conversation. And I want to tell you that I was surprised. So I Googled the words innovative, technological democracy. And I can tell you, the first thing that came up was a blog or an article. It's a 2012 article. And can you believe that in that 2012 article was what they were covering was a list of 20 most innovative people in democracy in that year. And I thought, oh my God. In 2012, there was already a list of 20 most innovative people in democracy in that year. And in there was a list of amazing ideas. You know, they were talking, for example, of Barack Obama. They were speaking about the founders of Google, you know, the amazing ideas that they came out with. And the words that jumped out for me in all of that were things like digital openness, the opening up of government data, development of better city services, innovative public education programs, nuggets of inspiration for real-time problem solving, creation model city. It's amazing.
Yeah, so what I'm saying, Anne-Marie, this is exactly what's needed. At Birth 2012, which I did, as you know, was wonderful. But we didn't have a structure to hold it in. I don't do anything more without a structure to hold it in, because what happens is people get excited by these ideas, but they don't have a synergistic pattern to go in. We lose a lot of our energy that way. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it's almost overwhelming when you see. I just like to add to something you said, Anne-Marie, is if you really add high-tech genius to what we're saying, nanotech and biotech and artificial intelligence and all of that, and you would place evolutionary love into that, or the new species of Homo amore universalis, which is what Mark and I are calling it, Homo amore universalis. I called it Homo universalis, he called it Homo amore. So this is a species guided by love, who is activating universally all our capacities, as well as beginning to explore the outer space. I mean, this is awesomely cool.
Absolutely. I came across a quote by Pierre Teilhard de Chardin that says, speaking about synthesis, he says that love, in fact, is the agent of universal synthesis. That's so beautiful, confirms what you're saying.
It's exactly it. And synergistic democracy is based on the attraction of people joining together to create. Instead of win-lose voting, look at the difference between win-lose voting to get what you need. And all the structures are win-lose. Even if they're not even opposing each other, they have to oppose each other to win anything. I remember when I think it was Bernie Sanders did not want to criticize Hillary, and they told him if he didn't do that, he couldn't do anything. So he had to tell him how terrible Hillary Clinton was. Well, he didn't even think she was terrible. It was forced. It was forced separation to win. So we're changing that. And I ran for vice president and got my name placed in nomination. And I think I did it because I felt I wanted to bring these ideas into the political arena. Now, I'm not going to run for anything now, but I'm really saying that synergistic democracy is going to be the fulfillment of our current democracy if they start to understand it. So I want everybody's help in bringing this out into the world.
And technology makes it possible for us, isn't that so, Barbara? I think so. We've brought ourselves to this point in time where, so maybe we've always created, we've always had the desire to create, but the connection, the vehicle was not there. So you're saying, so with a new wheel of co-creation, you bring forward the structure within which we can take it forward.
I believe we're bringing forth the structure that is required for the next stage of democracy.
Awesome.
So Barbara, let me come in. We'll bring in some viewer questions here, and Anna Maria will come back in here shortly with some more too. But let me ask this question as we talk about the technology dimension. The key here that we've been talking to thus far is, of course, technology is enabling communication and social synergy, and even vocational arousal. There are many dimensions that are being activated through technology because it's bringing us closer together. It's allowing each other to affect the whole. Are there any dimensions here that, insofar as governance itself, insofar as the conversation, the collective conversation, the voting process, are there any dimensions that where technology is playing a role there?
Well, yes, because what I would see happening, as we're saying, that self-governing is really about connecting with others to achieve what you want to, instead of voting for others to do it. Now, we're going to need others to handle certain collective things, so I'm not saying it does away with government. But for the average person, we don't take part directly in government except by voting or running for office. It's a very tiny number of people. Whereas what we're saying is everybody who's doing their life purpose and who's connecting in a structure that reveals the connectivity of what's innovative, that's how you become self-governing. You see, it's really a big time jump, because look what's happening to me now. I'm 88 years old, and I've been working on these ideas my whole life, but suddenly I saw how to apply them in a much, much bigger way than I'd ever been able. And maybe because it's time on the planet. It may not have been time 10, 20 years ago. So I'm suddenly vocationally aroused. And I'd like to say about all of this, it makes for you to become newer as a person. Instead of getting younger or older, you're getting newer, because evolution is new. Evolution itself is always emergent. So when you, as a citizen who wants to be in governing yourself and your world, you're going to have to evolve to do it. You're not going to down and vote for somebody else to do it. You're going to start participating. And yes, we're going to need some kind of self-governance, but I believe we will evolve the win-lose voting structure itself as time goes on. I think it will be ridiculous to people.
Okay, let me bring in this. Beautiful. And I know Anna Marie's already got another question teed up. I'm just going to bring in real quick 2 viewer questions, and then we're going to go over to Anna Marie. So one of the viewer questions here, and thank you viewers, boy, there's just, they're pouring in here, and in an hour we can only get to so many, so I'm trying to select the ones that seem to go at where the most interest is. One of the questions here, the top 1% are using our government subsidies to keep the fossil fuels, drugging, jailing, gun violence, and warming paradigm systems going. Do you have a thought about this and what we're evolving toward? There are a number of questions that are similar to that one. Do you want to start with that one, Barbara?
Well, I think that we have to have a new use of the financial system. And you see, I think that people who have accrued a huge amount of money and who therefore could stay on the top of everything will eventually look more or less ridiculous, because what we're going to be is flooding the system with entrepreneurs. And I think what I would do about that is not so much trying to deal with the people on the top, except to start offering people the opportunity to join together to create around the environment. Now, it's already happening. We're doing huge numbers of committees are doing it, but then they don't stay synergized. So you have, let's say, hundreds of environmental committees doing different things, but even there they get competitive rather than synergistic. So I sound a little bit like a broken record here, but I don't think we can handle the problems in the old structure.
Yes, amen. And I'll go to one other question. By the way, that question was from Lynn. I'll just add one little thing to what Barbara said, which I know all of us are conscious here. That vote. I mean, vote, and get others to vote. Help turn out the vote. You know, for Lynn, I'll just add that to what Barbara said. So here's another question that, again, there's some other questions that are a little bit similar to this one, Barbara. This is from Cindy, and she says, how do we maintain our corporate job for income while we step out into entrepreneurship?
Well, that's another very, very good question. I think it has to be a both and for a while. And it's also possible that within a corporate structure, your own entrepreneurial activity can learn to be included. And I would say we all have to be pioneers to make this work. So I'm not in a big corporation, but they're human beings like everybody else. And if you come up with a really great entrepreneurial idea within a corporate structure, instead of just more or less putting it aside, see if you can expand your corporate structure to include you be more entrepreneurial. And I think we're dealing with the evolution of capitalism to include more entrepreneurship and more awareness of how it affects the environment than ever before. So all those big structures are themselves under tremendous pressure to change.
Exactly.
We're the change agents of what wants to be changed everywhere.
I can see that those changes when it comes to capitalism will come from within that sector as well. Yeah. So it's not like, you know, we have to go out there and change any sector, but that it will come naturally from within as well.
Right. Well, Steve Farrell, you know, you were definitely in the capitalist world, and then you became in the nonprofit world. But we're going together into the entrepreneurial world. More. So as I said to Steve, as I mentioned, let's be entrepreneurial, evolutionary entrepreneurs is a great subject.
Yes, it is. Let me just say, too, to add to this, you know, part of being an entrepreneur is the vision and the drive, but it's also a good entrepreneur is really putting their finger on a huge emerging need that's not being addressed. That's part of why they call them an entrepreneur. There's a need, and there aren't organizations addressing that need. And an entrepreneur is not only seeing the vision and creating a plan, but it's also helping to form the team around, you know, you do this well. It's just what you did, Barbara, earlier. You said, you want to be the speaker, you're going to do the music.
Yeah.
It's somebody that's organizing the members of the team so that you have a band that plays well together, and you get, which creates synergy where 1 + 1 + 1 is equaling 15. That's
exactly right.
It's the whole aspect of really, and it's fun. And now, you know, at the end of this program, we're going to talk about the Conscious Business Declaration. Barbara's also been part of that whole instruction team. And there are numerous opportunities for businesses that you can start as an entrepreneur that are conscious, that will create a better, a more nurtured community, a more nurtured world. So just want to put that invitation out there. Those of you that consider yourselves an entrepreneur, if you tap into one of these needs that's surfacing that's unfulfilled, and you can bring a team together to manifest that vision, there are just huge opportunities that can be.
I think I saw somebody on the chat saying that he thought maybe I was against voting. I don't want you to think that that's what I'm saying. I'm not against voting. I'm just saying it's not enough. And that the structure of people who go into a win-lose structure in Congress have a very hard time to be as effective as they could be.
True.
We have to become aware of structure and how it affects our lives. The minute you walk to the U.S. Congress, you on one side of the aisle, and you know, we're hearing that in the old days, they say, people used to have breakfast together even if they were Republicans or Democrats, but now it's harder.
Yeah.
Divisiveness being caused in there by many reasons and so on. So I think those of us who are evolutionaries really need to be innovators now.
Anna Marie, go ahead and come in, and then I'll come back to some more. They're just, again, thank you.
No, wonderful. I just wanted to say that this is so liberating, Barbara, because I think what many people are experiencing is a sense of helplessness. You know, when we look at the enormity of the challenges that face us, we look at this and we think, oh my God, there's no ways that I can make a change here. But if we're thinking about small islands of coherence, you know, that makes it possible for the system to go to a higher order. That this is what I see happening, and that, you know, that's liberating. You know, you see the possibility in there.
Yes, you do. And also in evolution, crisis precedes transformation, and problems are evolutionary drivers.
Yeah.
And every single problem we have in the economy is an evolutionary driver for us to change it. I can't solve it in a structure which itself is the problem. I mean, this is
Andrew Harvey once said, Andrew was speaking about desire. Andrew Harvey once said, I loved what he said. He says, so, well, I resonate with that. So the way I see it for me is it's not like I'm following my bliss, but I'm following my heartache. In that sense, I mean, I'm following that which makes me, as, you know, my DNA, you know, the thing that worries me at the core, the thing that drives me, you know, the thing that hurts me in society. You know, so I'm following my heartache, and that is my desire.
Well, this is right. And if I can drop in a thought on the new species here, members of the new species are ones who are activated by their heart's desire. That's how you become a member of the new species. And somebody doesn't appoint you a new species, but your heart's desire guides you into certain activities that you have to become new to do it. And then what happens also, I believe from epigenetics on the cellular level, is that the epigenetics, your consciousness is surrounding your cells. So the cells are the genetic code, which is extraordinarily brilliant, get turned on and you get more intelligent. You're to wake up with, aha! And you're, you know, that's what happens to you.
Barbara, let me bring in just one of the stories you tell, which is so powerful. I want to bring it in because I think, especially now with the nationalist populist activity here in the United States and all over the world, people become numbed by just this gross injustice. Many of the questions here are relating to the just gross injustice. But what you invite is no, don't get numb. And actually that when you come into crisis, there's an invitation in the crisis, and you've talked about this in your own life. Can you bring that in? Because I think this will be really valuable for.
Say that again, because I was just reading something of Lynn Misty.
When you've had crisis occur, you've realized there's a huge invitation and opportunity in the crisis that's presenting itself in your life. Can you talk about that? Because I think that'll really be something for everyone.
Well, you know, I'm a real journal writer, and that's how I've discovered a lot of this stuff. So I'm so tuned to this. So I wake up, there's a crisis in my life, let's say. So first of all, I know that is driving me somewhere. That's a big thing to know that, rather than think, oh my God, I'll never do it. So first of all, I say, here's the crisis, and I do it with my mental mind. And this, and this person did this and this. Then I do double quotation marks and I say, dearly beloved. That's my way of, accessing the higher power. What does this mean? And I don't think with my mental mind and trying to figure it out. But I'm not channeling, or I'm not out of my mind. I'm more intelligent because I have developed a process of asking that inner knowing, which then will write clearly what it means and what to do. And then I try it out. I mean, in other words, I really use the deeper mind as a constant. And I say to people in the 52 codes, one is, keep a record of the communication. It's your spiritual scripture. Your spiritual scripture is your inner knowing, and it usually comes in flashes of thought. And if you don't write it down, it's very hard to remember it. Now, I have 202 volumes of journal, and they're on the internet now. I don't know what's going to happen there through Deepak Chopra's Ishar. But what I would recommend to everybody who wants to do this is to keep a journal. And when you're looking for your deepest heart's desire and what you want to innovate and create, it may not come out of your mental mind. And if you're turning to your mental mind to do it, you might think you don't know. But if it's your deepest heart's desire, here's what I can assure you, you do know.
Awesome. Barbara, and I know you've got to run in a minute. Barbara's doing the Awaken New Species 50 codes thing. She's going to that program here in just a few minutes. But before you leave, just an invitation you'd like to leave with viewers. And then Anna Marie, I'm going to come to you next with the same question.
Anna Marie, I would like to work with you, bring real co-creation together, and to actually develop some synergy among the parts as part of self-evolution of our species. I think that's where we are now.
Mm-hmm.
I suggest that we try it with humanity's team also.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wonderful. Oh, Barbara, this was so, I really knew that this was going to be inspiring, because you're so in touch with your dream, with your desire. And I can see that when we are in touch with our desire, that is the leadership that we have. So, you go where your heart takes you. And that is so contagious. So thank you so much. It was so wonderful to speak with you about all of this. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. So I'm reading Tommy, who says, sorry, I'm not a dreamer. I'm a realist, writer, and do radio shows, and found most people like loving the dreamland than the real world. Hawk's blood. Well, that's, yes. Okay. I would challenge that, Tommy. They don't know the possibilities. You put people near a possibility of doing what they love to do, and they won't reject it.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't mean they have to give up their job right away. It doesn't mean you jump off a cliff when you do this. You do it gently. Tommy, hey. Okay.
Yeah, so I'll come in here too, because as Barbara mentioned, and as I share on these programs, I was an entrepreneur in Silicon Valley for a decade in the 90s, and man, was I in the right place at the right time. I got a chance to build 2 companies to 75 million in revenue, and to do it where we were involved, like by adopting high schools and involved in community projects and all kinds of really cool stuff, where we were all on a shared bonus. So we made income together, the whole team, and everybody looked at everybody's salary from top to bottom. But the key thing, a lot of times people feel like they've got to do entrepreneur toward their own thing. But there are huge opportunities to come together as well. So in some cases, yes, you know, we know we're called to something, a vision that we're to manifest and to build a team around. But in other cases, there are huge things that are forming even now as we speak, especially in this conscious business. There are huge, beautiful conscious businesses that are forming. And we don't necessarily need to go off and form our own thing. Instead, we can come together with others and create this where we have a similar vocational arousal, where we create a similar, you know, a beautiful synergy together. Because I do this well and you do that well. So just want to, and as we're doing our spiritual practices, we're feeling into what we want to manifest, to consider that as well. Are there beautiful things that you're aware of where there are people that are lifters, that are that have real positive energy, that are givers, that are looking to make a better world, that you that have an idea already, and there's something that's already progressing that you could join with. So
yes, Milena says that we have to recognize this is happening in many places already. So that's absolutely true. That's why what we're saying is real. You know, we're not thinking of this and nobody's ever thought of it before. In fact, almost everybody's thinking about it. I think one of the things that I have done is offered a structure in which to do it. The wheel is a structure, because once you're in it, you're still doing your own thing. Mm-hmm. You're not asked not to do it, but you're doing it where other people are coming in to help you. And you see, this is not about separating yourself out. This is about doing more of your own thing. And that nature has been doing this for multiple billions of years, getting parts together to create a new whole. And if they said, well, I don't want to join with you, we wouldn't be here.
All right, let me, so that, boy, that's beautiful. And this hour went fast. We're about out of time, and I've got some announcements I want to get to, but let me just share. Lynn and others are bringing in what about the homeless and so on. So where we're called to help the homeless or women that have been battered women, and there are many incredible causes, absolutely feel into that. That oneness is, the first dimension is really connecting with the divine, with the energy of the divine, but the second dimension is action. It's what we're called to. And within Humanities Team, there are lots of people and organizations that are out helping the homeless and helping women who have been abused, and helping in so many areas. Foster kids that at 18 just roll off the payroll and they go to jail in many cases. There are wonderful people and organizations doing this work. And so, because this is part of all witnesses.
The wheel brings them together, because every single sector has multiple activities. I'm making a real simple observation. One more degree of synergy, and we're almost capable of doing it all.
Yes, amen.
We're already doing it. It's not like we're saying that, oh, but there's nobody handling the homeless. As you say, multiple peoples are doing it, but how does that synergize also with governance and media? Because part of it is lack of communication, and so on and so on and so on. And the real fact of the matter is that it's a whole body politic. That's really what it is.
Yeah, so we're going to have Barbara back again to this program. Thank you. Barbara, Anna Marie, Barbara, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay.
Oh, beautiful. So I'm going to just share a little as we go into as we come in to wrap up. So huge thank you, Barbara, to you, to Anna Marie. Fabulous. I'm going to come back and thank you some more before we end the program. But a few announcements I want to get to. One is, as I mentioned, Humanities Team is a member of the Conscious Business Alliance. It's composed of 4 global NGOs. You can see them on the screen. A lot of the discussion has turned to emerging new forms of organization like conscious business. I invite you to go to cbenterprise.com, the link there on the screen. And if you resonate with nurturing businesses and organizations, I invite you to sign that declaration. As well, the Oneness Declaration, I invite you to sign it. You can see it on the screen as well. If you go to humanitiesteam.org, there, Garth just put it up on the screen, humanitiesteam.org, you'll see the Oneness Declaration. I invite you to read it and sign it. It creates the basis for doing all of this incredible work out in the world. Upcoming programs that you don't want to miss. Next Thursday, May 31st, at 9 Pacific, Ross Hostetter is coming in. He's going to be talking about conscious law. be an amazing program. Ross is an incredible attorney whose real passion is creating conscious law. So tune in to that program next week. And then on June 14th, Anna Marie and I are back with our 12 Spheres program focusing on health. You can see on the screen there, Karen Noe. We're going to be talking about her book called We Consciousness. It's an unbelievable book that talks about how we can create individual and collective health and well-being out in the world. If you go to livinginone.com, you can register for these programs. The programs are free, and if you miss the live program, we send out a link so you can hear the recorded program later. This program is focused on living in oneness, so I invite you to something called Community Circle. It's only $10 a month. It's an intentional community for those living in oneness. There are many benefits that come from this program. One is that there are over 400 programs that are recorded like this one that you can listen to anytime, anywhere with family members. There are over 400 that are recorded. There's a private Facebook page. There's a book club. There's also a group that comes together in Community Circle twice a month to share intimately about successes and challenges during this journey in oneness. So check it out as Community Circle. It's only $10 a month. On the screen, you can see some of the team that was involved in creating this program. Again, Anna Marie, my co-host, thank you, Anna Marie. Dee Meyer, Nanette Kennedy, Garth Catterall, Christine, Glenn. You've got myself on there. So thank you to everybody that's involved with this program. And Oneness in 12 Spheres, Anna Marie, and also Caroline Chang, my assistant, put a lot of energy into it. So thank you so much to you all.
Thank you to you, Steve. Thank you. Gracious host always. Thank you, Garth and Christine and everyone.
So in closing, I want to just invite all of us to live as one. Of course, each of us will do this in our own way. This is ultimate reality. And when we feel into this place of oneness, we feel into the presence, peace, and power that we know is ours. It's actually the divine energy, which is our source. So we'll see you next Thursday, May 31st, when we're back on the air at 9 o'clock Pacific time with Ross Hofstadter, and the program is going to focus on conscious law. So I hope you can join us next week. Okay, thanks everybody. Have a great Memorial Day weekend if you're here.
Much love. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Anna Marie. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Garth and Christine, each of you, thank you.
Everyone, thank you.
Thanks for all the interaction.